Hi, I'm Arlene, host of the television talk show Ask Arlene, which airs on Thursdays at 6:30. And as a business consultant and life coach, I help you to move forward in your business, project, or endeavor. So if you always wanted to write a book, but you just haven't seemed to get started, or you always wanted to 10x that business that you already have, expand it to the next level, you know exactly what you need to do, but you just haven't done it? Well, I've already purchased all the courses, read all the books, the Tony Robbins, all sorts. I have several degrees, including a master's degree and credits toward a doctorate. I've sat with and met celebrities and done the networking. And what I realized is what I really needed was a mastermind group of people working toward my project, my business, or my endeavor. So what I've done is met with coaches and met with experts and put them together to work on your project. So join us today for our Mastermind networking group. I'll see you there. Click the link below and join us.
Welcome to the Ask Arlene show, the show where you get to ask the questions and we help you to answer them. I'm so excited today because we have a special guest joining us. Our guest today is Dr. Clarice Kavanaugh. She is a professor, an MBA graduate, PhD graduate. She is also working currently in California at the University of Chicago. So we're very excited to have her with us. She's the owner of her own company. She's been a successful entrepreneur for several years, and she's going to help us to learn how to overcome our fears, get unstuck, and live our best life. Hello, Dr. Kavanaugh.
Hello, I am so excited to be here. Thank you, Arlene, for having me.
Thank you for joining us. We know that you're a wealth of information, and you're one of those ladies who not only talk the talk, but you walk the walk. So we're curious now. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we go into what we really want to discuss.
Well, I am Dr. Clarice Kavanaugh, as you said, and I am a university professor at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, which is located in Chicago, but I teach at the Los Angeles, Orange County, or San Diego campus. This semester I'll be in San Diego. I also have a consulting company, the Kavanaugh Group, and I am a professional performance coach and strategic business coach, and I enjoy taking people to their next level. Everybody has a next level, and I help them to find it. Also have a talk show, a podcast called The Pain of Change with Dr. Clarice, where I talk to interesting people about interesting topics and help people overcome the pain of their change and walk into their victory. I love really helping people. People are my passion, and I enjoy totally teaching, mentoring, and at some point even helping sponsor someone go to their next level. So that's a little bit about me. I have a couple of kids and grown children, a granddaughter that is a haute couture fashion model who just got, she's getting ready to walk in New York Fashion Week in a month or so. So
Congratulations.
And I have a grandson who is a b-baller and a scholar. And that's basically, that's not really it, but that's enough. Okay, so
that's start. That's a whole mouthful. Well, we're very excited to have you with us, and we're glad that you're able to share all of that, because some of that shows that you are a regular person. So many people think that women like yourself who've achieved great things. You have a PhD, an MBA, you're working as a professor. Perhaps you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, or perhaps you had some special sauce that the rest of, the regular America didn't have. So that's why I wanted you to start, okay, with the glory and the fame. But now let's get to some of your story. So what I understand is that you were actually a teenage pregnancy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I was a teenage single mom. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that, how you ended up in that situation at the age of 16.
Well, I was 16 and pregnant. I delivered at 17. And of course, when you get involved with someone you think you're in love with, right? And one thing happens after the other, it's almost like people that don't get the vaccine because they don't think they're going to get COVID. Well, I think that's what happens when you're young and you end up having intimate relationships with someone. You don't think about pregnancy. But anyway, I got pregnant. I had a child. I had a daughter. And I really and truly just didn't know. I had no family support. Mm-hmm. My mom was like, "You grown, good luck." Wow. And basically that was it. And but I made it. And primarily I learned to, not easy, but what people wanted to tell me about me that I bought into, I realized that wasn't who I was. And I think that's the hardest part. When you're young and you're pregnant and you have a child, people give you all these excuses, Arlene. Well, you're young, don't worry about it. It's okay not to have a good job. It's okay not to have an education. But through meeting other people, I realized that I did have a great turn to go to, and eventually end up going to school
and doing quite well. I was talking, as you know, I'm a life coach and a business consultant. I was speaking with a young lady the other day, just this week, and she is a teenage pregnancy. She has 2 children. So one, when she was, I think, 18, and now she's 22, she has the second one. And many people have told her that, she's not going to be able to make it. She's not going to be able to go to college. She feels like it's very hard for her to get a position because as she has to spend money to take care of the kids, how can she spend money for daycare if she has to spend the money on the schooling, on the education? So she's saying that she's kind of within a catch-22. And I had shared with her some advice as to how she can begin to navigate. But tell us how you were able to navigate it, because you had the kid, but somehow you were able to get a good enough position whereby you were able to afford to pay for school and then begin moving on this other journey and change the trajectory of your life and going that alternate direction. So how did you do it? Because you, like her, you didn't have any degrees at that point. So how did you begin to change the trajectory and get something good when you didn't have the academic background at that juncture?
I'm going to add something to that. I didn't even know how to write a check.
Wow. Okay. Tell us.
Okay. Well, people started asking me to write papers for them in college because people thought I was smart. They saw that I was smarter than I saw. So I started writing papers for people in school. And then I would say, "Oh, what'd you get on your paper?"
So did
I got it
long for to even get to school?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Dr. Clarice, take us back a little bit, because the journey is the challenges. How did you even change that trajectory to get into school? Like the young lady that I spoke of, she said from a financial perspective, she can't afford school and daycare. So
well, you can't not afford it. You apply for student loans. You understand that you're investing in yourself. It's no different than when you go get a car. You sign a loan, okay? You pay for the car. If you need to get from point A to point B, When you walk into to try to get a car, you don't have any qualms about that car note. Well, you need to have that same attitude and that same empowerment when you invest in you. I hear people say all the time, well, I didn't go to school because I didn't want a student loan. And that's why right now you're not doing anything with your life. Not really. Or they'll say Steve Jobs didn't have a degree or Bill Gates. I'm like, really? We're going there? But you have to tell her what for your children. Like someone told me when I said I couldn't afford to go to college, this guy, Jim Velardo, said, you can't afford not to go to college. You got 2 kids.
Right.
You have to go to college. And that's the attitude she has to have. She needs to survive and thrive.
So the concept is any means necessary. Take out loans if you need to in order to get your academic career in the right trajectory. But you were able to find a good job. You worked for the telephone company in order to meet somebody like Mr. Bellardo. I was working in Encyclopedia Britannica when I met Mr. Bellardo. But but I've always been smart. And we're talking about 50 years ago. It's a whole different game. It's a different game. So it was okay to have a high school education and go work at the telephone company and have that good job. But I didn't think that was good enough. Right.
You see, you have to realize that no deposit, no return. No deposit, no return. You cannot go up to the ATM and put in an ATM card and put in some PIN numbers if you haven't made a deposit. So you have to think of yourself as an ATM machine. You got to deposit in you in order to take out withdrawals that are lifetime. And I'm not saying it was easy. People didn't want to keep my kids. Anybody kept my kids. My hairdresser kept my kids. Neighbors kept my, I'm really serious. Right. Hairdressers, neighbors. I would take my kids to school with me. I had 2 jobs and going to school.
Okay, so basically,
and no car.
You did what you had to. I mean, I've written a book. It's called The 10 Secrets to Overcoming Fear, Getting Unstuck, and Living Your Best Life. One of those secrets is persistence. So some people will say, well, you gave me the advice, Arlene. I tried it once and it didn't work. But what you're saying is right in line with what I've written in the book, which is that even if it doesn't work the first time, we have to keep going. We have to push because there are these challenges and these obstacles. But I would venture to say, and you tell me if it's true, that probably the first degree, that first hump that you had to go through in order to get your education going in the right trajectory was the most challenging. And then once you had that first victory, you continued and continued and continued. And it was just like water going through the mountains because you were already on that trajectory.
Right. I have 4 degrees now, so.
You know how to do it. You've conquered that fear. You've conquered that challenge. And once you conquer that one challenge, that big thing, then you realize, wow, I can do it. And you gain some impetus and momentum to keep going on the journey. So when we come back, I'd like for you to tell us how you went from that stage, having met Mr. Bellardo and still not going to college, to making that transition and turning that corner and beginning to change your life and live the best life ever. Because now you live in California. Now you're doing it like, like what you've always envisioned. So we'd love to hear some more of your story when we come back after this PSA. You guys stay there. Stay tuned. We're coming back. Hi, this is Arlene of the Ask Arlene Show, which airs on Thursdays at 6:30. Guys, we are doing a 5K challenge where we're asking you to walk 5,000 steps every day. During COVID-19, many of us are indoors. Many of us are not as active as we used to be, going to work, walking to take the kids to school. We're all indoors. And so we need to have a little bit of a boost and a challenge in order for us to become more healthy and become the best version of ourselves. So if you've been wanting to lose a few pounds, or maybe not, you just want to be as healthful as possible, join the challenge, guys. Go to bit.ly/Ask Arlene, capital A for Arlene, capital A for ask, okay? And join us today for the 5,000 step per day challenge. Look forward to seeing you there. Welcome back. We're joined by Dr. Kavanaugh, who is a PhD MBA professor, who's telling us how we can win at the game of life, just like she has been doing and crushing it. So we're so excited because Dr. Kavanaugh, you are a business owner. So you defy all of the stereotypes. You are somebody who started out with meager beginnings. You didn't start out with a silver spoon in your mouth. But you know what? Also, one of the tools that they say in terms of success is the upbringing. It's not just the silver spoon, but the upbringing. Were you from a family that had an academic background, or at least financially successful?
Well, I had a family that believed in education.
Okay.
And my great-grandfather was the first Black dentist in Lexington, Kentucky to administer anesthesia. And our house at 128 Dewey Street in Lexington, Kentucky is an historic site. And our family name is in the school song right now today. And so I believe that, and my other great-grandfather is a descendant of Frederick Douglass. So we have this type of ambiance. So when I became, school, I was surrounded by people that go into college. I lived in an upper middle class neighborhood in Chicago, and everyone went to college. I was pregnant, so I had that influence, but I just took the wrong turn right then. I made a detour. But just because people make a detour in their life, a detour will eventually take you back in your right direction. A detour does not mean that you get lost. Think about it. When you see a sign on the freeway that says detour.
They say delay does not mean denial. Delay
Right.
doesn't mean denial. It's just a detour.
It's just a
or
detour.
delay in the journey.
and when you, to answer your question and be specific, I knew that if I ever wanted better, I have to do better. I can't want better. I can't keep talking the talk. And that's what Jim Delardo told me. He was basically tired of hearing me talk about my dreams. He's tired. So he gave me a deadline to give him a registration of a college. I thought he was kidding. When I missed my deadline, he said, well, I'm like, what?
Where's the application?
Right. I said, he took me gently by my shoulders, turned me around from his office and pushed me gently out of his office and closed the door. He never spoke to me again. Never.
I think that's also one of the key pieces to success, having those mentors in your life who are going to hold your feet to the fire. So I always say I'm a life coach and a business consultant. So a life coach is different from your mommy or your daddy or your supportive auntie, because we push you. The concept is that sometimes we need to be pushed. And you said you were a descendant of Frederick Douglass. And one of the famous quotes by him is, without struggle, there is no progress. So right. I know that you've gone through struggle, and people see your glory, but they don't always know your story. And so they think, well, it's just been a beautiful journey walking down the flowery road. And it's a challenge. And we need people to push us and cause us to be the best version of ourselves. And one of the challenges why I really do what I do is because of the next generation, the people who are following us. If they don't see us push, then why will they push? They'll believe the media hype that it's just easy and you just take pictures on Instagram and you blow up and you become world famous. That's how you eat. As opposed to your story, which is, yes, now you're a professor. You're living in a beautiful place near the water, near the ocean. I mean, where's more beautiful than California? That's my next home. But there's such a journey. Get there. You know, and I'm curious as to What was that switch? So you said it was Mr. Bellardo as far as getting into college, but then you took it a step further. And even after you retired, tell us some of the corporate jobs that you've held, because you're not just one of those people who blew up overnight and then you became a coach, but you've actually worked in corporate America. And for people like me who are, who've come through what we call the plantation, we really understand that really is an accomplishment. Tell us some of the companies that you've worked with.
Well, you have to understand the corporation is the nouveau plantation, right? But I've worked in corporate America for...
I didn't say that to the whole world, right?
Right. No, plantation
Just our little
corporation.
secret. Right.
The only difference is you're getting a different salary, and hopefully you're getting benefits of 401k. Okay, so bottom line is I worked in corporate America for over 40 years, and I had a good ride. I don't have one complaint. I really don't. I wish I did. I mean, I had bad, crazy managers, but I had bad, crazy husbands too. So, it is what it is. You don't give up. So, but to answer your question specifically, it is because of that training I got in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for over 36 years. Okay, I retired from a company after 23 and a half years. Okay, and it was all that training, all the marketing, all the sales training, all the product knowledge that incentivized me to go back to get a doctorate, because even though I had an MBA, your doctorate speaks to your experience. And when you talk about that, when you want to speak about what you've done and you've got a doctorate,
people listen.
Tend to listen a little bit more. They really do. Okay. So not saying that you need it, but it was a bucket list item of mine. See, so it was on my bucket list that one day I wanted a doctorate. So I was playing golf one day, and I realized that was not how I want to ride out and retire, because retire and expire are too close together. Right?
So how did you make the transition? So many of us go through the journey, and then we feel like, okay, well, you did 40 years in corporate America. That's enough. I mean, I'm sure you have stories that we don't have time on this 29 show to discuss. Right. So what made you now? You said it was on your bucket list, but lots of people write things down and then we don't necessarily accomplish them. So what was the impetus for you to say, despite the struggle, despite the challenge, I'm going to now push for another section of my life as opposed to relax and just enjoy the fruits of my labor? What made you push?
I was thinking about my obituary, and I decided.
No, really, that's awesome. That's what many of the greats say. You sit down and you write your obituary and what you want to be in it. So go ahead.
And what I wanted it to say about me. I wanted people to understand that I didn't, and she retired and she played golf and she traveled. I didn't want that. Older is not over. Two different adjectives. Okay. And I went back to school and got my PhD in my 60s. So when people sit up and talk about, I don't want to do anything. Why has anybody ever thought about why dementia is raging? If you don't use it, you lose it. You just sit up and do nothing with your legs. You think you're going to walk? No, they're atrophy. So your brain
will atrophy as well. That makes sense. As you saw, I'm doing the 5,000 step per day challenge, which helps us get up and move. So many of us are so mentally astute, and we do have businesses, successful businesses. A lot of people who watch the show either are endeavoring to be business owners or already are successful business owners. But one of the ways that we can maintain it is to actually begin to be more physically fit, because they say there's a connection, the brain body connection. And if you are physically fit, you actually earn 9% more than if you're not physically fit. And I was just blown away by the statistics. And then I started to look at our community and realize, wow, we really need to just get up and walk, even just walking to begin the journey. But we only have 5 minutes left. And I want you to share with us a story where you were challenged. So we've obviously seen that you've had a lot of success. We saw the beginning of the journey, but where somebody stopped you. Somebody said, well, you don't need to get the PhD, or we're going to, make it hard for you in terms of your dissertation, or we're going to, put some additional obstacle in the way, and yet you were able to handle it and overcome it. How did you handle those situations?
Today, I can talk about today.
Okay.
Last night, I get an email and I'm offered a class, and then I'm not offered the class. And then, and it has been, even in higher education, my dissertation speaks to crashing through the concrete ceiling. And so when you are walking through life as an African-American woman,
mm-hmm.
you don't have the privilege of the glass ceiling. It would be so nice. You could just beep. Oh, okay. I'm going to go. No, you got to get a jackhammer.
Wow.
And the challenges that I have faced is people continuously telling me what I cannot do. And what I love is I proved them wrong. When I was getting ready, when I went back to get a PhD, and people asked me, so PhD, I thought you were retired. I said, I'm re-engineering myself. What do you plan on doing with a PhD? I said, well, I plan on teaching in a university. Girl, have you ever taught before? I'm like, I have life experience.
Right.
So when I got offered a job at this school that I'm teaching at 3 years ago, I told somebody, I was so excited. And she said, do you think they'll understand what you're saying?
Why wouldn't they understand what you're saying?
Those were her, I'm quoting. Well, do you think they'll understand what you're saying? And I'm like,
accent?
No. In other words, she's basically saying, do I have the qualifications to lecture? Will they understand? Do I have those abilities to lecture a class? I'm in my 3rd year.
Well, Thank you so much, Dr. Kavanaugh. I'm sorry to cut you off because we're just getting started. We're going to have part 2 at another time, but thank you for pushing. Thank you for being an example for us that we can see someone who has fought the fight, gone through the struggle, and come out on the other end successfully. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate you. We ask you to listen again next week, Thursday at 6:30. We're going to have part 2. And then we also want to thank Angel and William, our awesome studio professionals who help us to put the show on today. And share this video, tell your friends, and please subscribe to the show so that we can have more shows with talented, successful people like Dr. Kavanaugh. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
Name some things I'll be without you, good. Stop the growth, I bet you think you could. Said you gon' leave me, man, I wish you would. Yeah, I'm different, so I'm misunderstood.